Hi, I'm Ryan, and you're watching my YouTube series on functional programming. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the either container, and I'm going to add a new function to it called as the fromPromise. In the previous two episodes, I created a function called as fromCondition, which let you encapsulate an if-else, and I also created a fromTry, which let you encapsulate a try-catch block. So in this case, or in this episode, we are going to make a fromPromise. So let's see how we can do that. So we have a little promise that I created over here, which resolves to 1 after 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. And I'm going to show you the interface that I'm going to actually going to implement. So we have either.fromPromise, which is very similar to a from condition or a from try. And we pass it our promise over here. And then we have these two functions which map on the value if the promise resolves. And eventually, just like any other fold function, if there's an error, we print the error, and if there is a success, we call the right function and we print the value of success. So remember, fold, the left value is in left function accepts an error, the right function is the value. The important thing to note here is that the promise is not an instantaneous value. Over here, we have a delay of 1 second to simulate a network request. But notice how the code is written as if it's a synchronous code. So you have the same interface that you have for any other either, whether it's a try catch, whether it's a condition, and the whole fact that this is going to be a delayed execution has been hidden from you. So that's what we're going to implement. So let's go ahead and create this function on our either. A static function called fromPromise, which takes a promise and returns something. Now we need to figure out what we want to return here, right? So let's quickly see what this is. So we want to be able to execute the function only if the value of the promise resolves, and eventually we return, a right or a left value. So in this case, because promises are slightly different, the implementation is going to be slightly different. So I'm going to create a class called promise either extends an either. So we are still returning an either, and we are going to implement a map function which accepts the function to be mapped over. We are going to return a new promise either, just what we always do from a map function. We always wrap a value inside the container, and over here I'm going to do this dot data dot then function. So what I'm saying here is, when you try to map over something, map over my promise, I want to call the function when my promise resolves. So my this.data needs to be instantiated. So I'm going to do return new promise either with a promise. So now I'm instantiating this.data, and when I'm mapping, I'm only mapping on stuff when it is resolved. So how do I deal with the error condition? So here's where the fold comes into play. So the fold has a left and a right, and return this.data then on success we call the right function, and on failure we call the left function. So map over the functions when it is resolved, and eventually return the right, or call the right function, or call the left function in case of an error. So let's see how this whether this even works, right? So we're going to do node either promise or chase. I had a delay of 1 second, and after 1 second I got my value. 1 plus 10 plus 20 is equal to 31. And now let's reject this value. So now after 1 second I got an error with the value 1. So none of these functions in between executed, right? And let's quickly look at this function again. We had a map, we run over it. Only when it resolves, we eventually call either the left or the right function, depending on the promise resolution. And that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.